Ladies and gentlemen, just weeks after a 1,000-day resistance line breakout on Bitcoin, which preceded a 53% move to the upside, we are seeing for the first time in 1,100 days, massive compression on the monthly chart Bollinger Bands, which has only ever led to bull markets on Bitcoin. So this is huge news. It's huge news from a long-term perspective. It's very, very bullish from a long-term perspective. But in wake of this bullish news from a long-term perspective, we are forced to consider the potential bearishness on the medium and short terms, or the weakness that is showing there, and whether or not that will result in an actual correction or not. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Guys, you may remember on this YouTube channel a few weeks ago we discussed a break of a 1,000-day long resistance line. That is this line here in yellow. We'll look back into this line in a second, but it's a breakout from a line stemming from April 2021 that was about 1,000 days, or 920 days to be precise, in resistance. We broke that to the upside and we saw one of the biggest weekly candles we've seen for a long time, right, since back here in January this year, so basically in 10 months, to the upside. Huge candle, huge move in general, 53% rally from top to bottom. That was on a 1,000-day resistance break, and now we're seeing another 1,000-day event occur, right? This Bollinger Band compression, or this level of Bollinger Band compression, is unprecedented. We have not seen this, okay, since back here in September 2020, or October 2020 rather, and that was exactly 1,126 days ago. So just a few weeks ago, back here in October, we saw a 1,000-day resistance line break, and now we're seeing, for the first time in 1,100 days, a Bollinger Band compression that has only been seen in Bitcoin's entire price history twice in the past, and both times it happened preceding a massive bull market to the upside. In the case of 2016, it occurred, and say from here to here, we saw a gain of around 7,800%. From here to here in 2020, we saw a gain of around 400 to 500%, or 505% to be precise, and this time, who knows what it will cause, but it certainly is bullish. So 1,000-day break, 1,000-day, Bollinger Band compression. Big stuff is happening across the board in the long term, and the long term is certainly not bearish. Let's look into this a little bit further. So first and foremost, what are the Bollinger Bands? Now the Bollinger Band, I actually believe they're pronounced Bollinger Bands, by the way. It's just a habit calling them Bollinger. I'll call them Bollinger. The Bollinger Bands are basically an indicator, and you have three aspects of the indicator. You have the red line here, which I believe is actually for 20 SMA. I could be wrong about it. I think it's a 20 SMA. And then you have the two upper, the lower band and the upper band. And basically these bands are moving averages. They move with the market. And when you see these bands come very, very close together, you'll notice that that happens after periods of very low volatility. And these bands can only stay close together for so long. Essentially, when they clamp together, it's indicative of the price clamp down like a beach ball being held underwater. And when you let go of that ball, what does it do? It comes out of the water. Not only does it come out of the water, but it bounces, it jumps. And this happens to the downside and the upside. And in this case, since we're in a cyclical market, since we understand that Bitcoin is in a 4-year cycle trend, and the 4-year cycle trend is identified using 5 very major date range trends, we know that Bitcoin is cyclically bullish for this reason. We know there's going to be a bull market after the halving for this reason, or at least that's what the trend suggests. Given the fact that we are long-term bullish, we are cyclically bullish, we know for a fact, or we don't know for a fact, right? But we have very good evidence to believe that this compression is actually bullish and will lead to a spring to the upside, not to the downside, okay? And that is that's exactly what's occurred in the 2 previous cycles at this part in the previous cycles. You have to remember, this compression happened in March 2016. This compression happened in October 2020. These are both periods of times that just before the bull markets. Now, you might think, oh, it's happening a little bit early this time. We haven't even reached the halving yet. Well, we didn't reach the halving here in April 2016. In fact, the peak compression happened at the halving exactly. And over here in 2020, it happened, 5 or 6 months after the halving. So there's no real need for it to be exactly on time with the halving or after the halving or at any specific point in the middle of a cycle. The fact of the matter is, it's happening in the same rough time period. And another thing you need to consider as well is that we don't know if these bands are finished compressing. If Bitcoin rejects here, if Bitcoin goes down here, which we'll discuss in a second, we could see even more compression on these Bollinger Bands, and it could push back the peak compression a few more months into the early 2024 period, in which case it'd make a lot more sense. But basically what I'm trying to tell you is this, because we're getting into the semantics of it and we're getting into the specifics of it when it's not really necessary at this point in time. What I'm trying to tell you is this. I'm trying to tell you that Bitcoin, for the first time in 1,100 days, for the first time since this period of the last cycle, is seeing significant Bollinger Band compression, and that has only ever occurred before massive bull markets on Bitcoin. That is big news. But in wake of the ultra bullish long term, and I'll say that very clearly, the long term charts are very, very bullish. I mean, there's no reason to be bearish from long term charts whatsoever. But in wake of these bullish long term charts, we are facing a pretty difficult, pretty challenging time in medium term and short term. You know, we have the medium term charts here, such as the weekly chart. Yeah, you know, we've broken above bull market support band. We've broken above Gaussian channel. We've broken above 200-week SMA. We've done very, very well for ourselves over the last month or so. We've seen 2 months or so. We've seen a 53% move to the upside. But I think now Bitcoin is reaching a point of exhaustion, at least in the charts. You know, we've reached the top of this ascending channel formation. We've seen a couple now, 2 separate, especially this last one, this bearish doji candle at the top, along with this one the other day, just a very weak, 2 weeks ago I should say, a very weak candle. So now we've got a bearish doji candle, a very weak candle, we've got another weak candle forming, and we've only got like 5 days until that candle closes. The fact of the matter is, you know, this combined with the fact that we're facing now a very major resistance zone at around 38.5k or 37.5k I should say, to around 40k. It's just not particularly good news at the moment for the medium term and short term. There's not much going for the medium term and short term charts. If we look at the daily chart, for example, we've broken down from an ascending line on the RSI. Not only do we break down from it, but we've also seen a resistance support flip. We've also rejected from this red horizontal line on the RSI that we hadn't really ever broken above, right? We've rejected from consistently since April 2019. So this is a very strong resistance line. We rejected from that. And although we've seen these massive rejections on momentum indicators, and although we've seen volume just creep downwards consistently over and over again, and, you know, we're coming to a point in which, you know, something has to burst, right? Something has to give way. We haven't seen any reaction in the price. You know, we've seen 4-hourly chart. I mean, the RSI has been in a bearish divergence consistently for over a week now almost. You know, something has to give way soon. And this is where these yellow lines come in. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm completely and utterly bearish on short-term and medium-term, because I actually am not. I think that even though there are these bearish momentum indicators, and even though there are these bearish things in the RSI, for example, and the volume, and even though we're rejecting from things like the POC on the volume profile, I think that, you know, Bitcoin is very well exhausted in the price charts. But if we're looking at what's actually happening on a fundamental level, what are we actually doing on Bitcoin? Well, we're seeing upwards accumulation. Okay, we're seeing upwards accumulation against resistance. Now, what does this indicate? Well, it indicates, yes, Bitcoin is not having at the moment the massive amount of strength it needs to break above this resistance box, but it's also not dropping down. It's also not viciously rejecting yet. So there's no real clear definitive answer as to whether the market is bullish or bearish right now, because it's very difficult to be bearish in the market. Even though, you know, we have all these bearish charts coming through, it's very difficult to be bearish in the market while we have a consistent upwards trend on the short-term price charts, and actually even on the long-term price charts stemming all the way back to September since the bottom here, September 11th to be precise. For the last 3 months almost, we've seen a consistent upwards trend with not one singular lower low. When we see a lower low, if we see a lower low, that is when you'd flip bearish. As of right now, I'm in a period of time where I'm happy to say that I'm neutral. I'm on the sidelines of the markets right now. Yes, I have a long-term Bitcoin bag, but I won't be touching that regardless. I'm on the sidelines of the market right now in terms of short and medium term. I don't necessarily believe there's any particular strong bias to make here on Bitcoin. I believe that if we wait for a small 5% move to the downside below these 2 yellow lines, we'll speak about that in a second, you can then be very well bearish on Bitcoin, because you can see this massive double top forming, or you can see a rounding top forming. All you have to do is wait for a 5% drop, and then you can catch shorts all the way down to something like 34k, or even lower than that potentially. You know, it depends where Bitcoin goes. We'll have to assess that when it occurs, but the fact of the matter is, right now in this specific price zone, it's very difficult to make a bias on Bitcoin. I've made this point very clear over the last few days in all my Bitcoin videos. As I said, the charts are exhausted, the charts are bearish, but we have not seen the uptrend break down yet. There's been no breakdown to the upwards trend. We're still technically in an upwards trend. We haven't even seen a lower high. You know, we've seen higher highs the whole time, higher highs, higher lows. How can you be bearish when there's higher highs and higher lows? You cannot. You can observe the fact that it's more likely than it's been in the last 2 months, for example, that we're going to see a correction. But it's hard to say, oh yeah, I'm bearish, without any actual evidence of being bearish. You know, momentum indicators are not evidence, is what I'm saying. They're merely indicative of things. That it's hard to make predictions based on things that are very, very easily invalidated, to be frank. I mean, when we see a concrete lower low, that's when I can flip bearish. I can't do it right now. It's simply not intellectually honest to do. But yes, I will happily state to you right here that the charts, right? The charts, the TA itself, the momentum itself is exhausted and does seem to be flipping towards the bears. I will say that. without outright saying that I'm bearish. I'm just not comfortable doing that right now. What I am comfortable saying is that when we break down below these yellow lines, that is bad. If we break above this red box here, and specifically above 40k, let's look at that, right? Above 40k, which is the major resistance zone, that's very, very good. I do believe that if we break down below these yellow lines and place a lower high below this level here, we will be seeing price levels such as 33.4k retested, or potentially even lower. And I do believe that if Bitcoin manages to have the momentum to get above 40k, and specifically above this bright red box here, we will probably have the momentum to go to 42k or even something like 48k before seeing the correction from there. And I think 48k is actually quite likely in that scenario. To be honest, given the fact that 48k is actually the POC on the volume profile, if we're looking closely, you can see, let me zoom in, that 48k is where you see this spike in the volume profile, not at 42k. So I believe that if Bitcoin does, against the odds of the momentum indicators, break upwards, we'll be going on a one-way street straight to 48k or 47.5k. So that's very exciting. There are very exciting things on the table. And in conclusion, you know, it's just like what I've said before, right? I believe that the long term is exceptionally bullish. I believe now that we've seen a 1,000-day resistance line breakout, that's just absolutely phenomenal. And now on top of that, we're seeing compression on the Bollinger Bands in a bullish fashion that we haven't seen for 1,100 days. The long term just keeps getting better and better and better, while the medium term and short term doubt just keeps stacking up and up and up. But overall, there's only so long we can compress here because these yellow lines are getting awfully close to this red box, and it's only a matter of days now before we have to make a move either upwards or downwards. And I think it will be probably 2 or 3 days at the maximum before Bitcoin makes a definitive decision here on short term. So I'm very excited for it. And with that, I'll end the video there. Guys, if you're looking for a new exchange, you can check out the BingX or BitGet exchange. BingX is a global non-KYC exchange. You can sign up from anywhere in the world with just an email address and a password. I highly recommend doing that with my referral link below. And if you're looking for a KYC exchange, BitGet is global KYC. It's a little bit bigger than BingX, but it's trading off with the KYC there. You can sign up from anywhere in the world, aside from the United States of America, with an email address, password, and identity verification. Very low trading fees on both of these exchanges, and a protection fund as well in case they do get hacked. And by the way, neither of them have been hacked before, and they've been around for very long periods of time. So go ahead and check out these exchanges. My referral links are below. 15% trading fee discount is available for both exchanges with my referral link exclusively. So you're going to be trading, saving thousands of dollars in trading fees over the long run with my link. Check it out. It's all below there. Crypto Academy Become a Trader course. 10-unit course, right? It's a university format style course with PowerPoints, videos, worksheets, trading diaries. You can read up all about it on the website and ultimately throw us an email. Our contact details are on the website there, cryptoacademycourses@gmail.com. If you want to learn how to trade, this is the place you can do it. And then finally, the VIP group on Telegram. We trade altcoins sub-daily on Telegram, making big money on there with an 80.5% win rate. All of those losses, results, wins, all transparently placed in that PDF document you can look at for free. And you can also sign up for free with a 14-day free trial. And then if you want to pay, you can check out the payment information on this Telegram group as well. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you tomorrow in the next video. Cheers.